The story of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, Ghana's regulator of the downstream petroleum industry, started as the National Petroleum Tender Board, NPTB, with limited functions.
It was in 2003 that President Kufuor set up what was then known as the National Petroleum Tender Board, NPTB, with very limited functions, just to meet monthly and look at tenders for supply of petroleum products, especially crude oil and finished products by various companies. And we were just a board of about 7 people, including Mr. Kwampi Enim and Kennedy Ajapong and a few other people, Nene. I always call him my Gizo. So we started doing this work until 2005, when they decided to convert the tender board to a petroleum authority with extended functions.
When we knew we were coming into the petroleum world, we thought we shouldn't put everything right tightly under, say, a minister. Let them go. And then also make sure the regulation of the operators. And so this is why I say the integrity and the management, we will do it, the efficiency that would come. We haven't developed that, your sector yet. We may come to it, both upstream and downstream. So that was a mentality we came in with. I also believed that the whole, if you like, policy should be underpinned with public-private partnership. But the public's role to set the framework to allow the private sector, which had been touted to be the engine of growth, to take over and do the things. So these are some of the reasons we did what we did.
During the period of Professor Michael Quay, a law was sent to Parliament, passed, and the NPA was established. Staff who were part of the Petroleum Tender Board were also hived off to be part of the National Petroleum Authority. Madame Ninette Petty and her assistant Evelyn were the 2 staff who moved with me from the National Petroleum Tender Board to National Petroleum Authority.
Challenges along the way, but many great men of the authority defied all odds to lay with sweat and grit a great and solid foundation.
We started from just 2 rooms in a little flat off the Independence Avenue. There was 1 room upstairs which the then coordinator used, and downstairs was where we had the board meetings. There was a lot of chaos in the system, and we managed to bring things under control.
And right after our inauguration, we had to announce the first price increase under our tenure, and that was a very tough one. Because with that, then the focus has shifted from government onto the authority, and we became the main focus for petroleum pricing issues.
And we started without any funds from government. We went for several months without any funding. And then when we were converted into the Petroleum Authority, we managed to move from that two-bedroom flat to the Spintex Road premises, the place we rented or we were given by the then Energy Commission.
Strong decisions were also taken to ensure the uninterrupted importation and supply of petroleum products.
I took over an organization which was quite new. Some of the things we put in place included the deregulation, policy and execution plan, especially for deregulating the price and ensuring that the subsidies were removed from kerosene and a few other petroleum products, and also trying to ensure that we brought in some sanity with regards to compliance by the petroleum service providers. I believe there was a nickname given to NPA at that time. Instead of being called National Petroleum Authority, it was called National Penalty Authority, which I believe was because we invoked some discipline into the petroleum service providers, especially the oil marketing companies. We instituted a petrol marking system and also a BRV tracking system.
During my time, there were key decisions that I had to take. The first decision was to make sure that we diluted the powerful influence of the BDCs, because it was only the BDCs who could import in refined product and distribute. And sometimes they could take government and the country to ransom, especially at the time that we allowed subsidies. So government could not pay the subsidies, and they would tell us, if you cannot pay us, there are no products that would come into the country. So I decided to give BOST and Go Energy BDC licenses so that they could also import and distribute. Not that they were to be the competitors to the BDCs of the private sector, but to be the fallback when we run into problems. It has never happened since Kwame Nkrumah's regime from the 1960s up to 2014. The country was always subsidizing for petroleum products at the pump. It was difficult for any government to say that it was going to liberalize and deregulate petroleum prices at the pump, because people would come with all manners of excuses. TUC may demonstrate, Makola women, you name them, but I made sure that this must be implemented with a human face. So what I did, in collaboration with the president by that time, President John Mahama, we decided, and then Honorable Bua, the Minister of Energy, and then late Professor Akapsa, we decided that, look, we needed to do this liberalization so that we'll pay economic prices at the pump. Anytime on the international oil market, if prices go down, we benefit. If prices go up, we also try to look at it. But we also had a threshold where if it goes beyond that threshold, government may not have to pass it over to the consumers.
staff welfare received critical attention from successive leadership of the National Petroleum Authority.
The other thing that I thought was very important was also their welfare. And then when I came in, and I'm sure you are still enjoying that one, yes, I made sure that for your staff and management to work very hard, which we did, they needed to have good conditions of service. And that is when I try to, improve your conditions of services.
From 2008, we went through the system of renting from somewhere around Spinters Road to cantonments, renting. And there were times when landlords were trying to throw us out, that our rent was due. Then we had to relocate, and we ended up at the East Legon, this huge storey building. And we got to that end of the lease period, and you would not believe that the amount of the rent that we were paying was so huge that still this guy wanted us to throw us out. He didn't even want to give us even one more day. That was when we all got smart and decided that no, we needed to do something. And that was a breaking point, that was a game changer. And we said, no, we needed to get our own place. And that's how come we started working on the new building at Joe.
I'm sure when you look into the energy sector, it is the NPA probably that has one of the biggest facilities as its offices. It was done not because we were loved by government. It was done because the CEO and the board and management worked very hard at it.
The authority has supervised the acceleration of the petroleum downstream deregulation process by facilitating the removal of restrictions on the establishment and operations of facilities and the importation of crude oil and petroleum products.
Maybe from the very first day I entered the NPA office, I entered with some expectations, and I also had in mind the challenges that we are likely to face. Having regard to the fact that I was coming into office when we had just had the trade fair, gas explosion, and the reports was just being prepared. And then, so one of the first things that was given to me was gas explosion reports. So I knew clearly that some of the issues that I had in mind would have to include how to deal with some of it. So immediately we have to put in place all the necessary measures to change the design and then the regulatory regime in order to be able to tie all the loose ends so that we will not be able to, figure out some of these things. So I think that we largely were able to handle that. And those are times that we can go to sleep and then we are not sleeping. Myself, the staff, the management, and so on and so forth, because we don't know when next we are going to get any explosion somewhere, and then the lives that will be lost, properties will be destroyed, and so on and so forth, and the nation will be in distraught. So by and large, if I look back, how we are able to put in place those measures, and up to now we haven't suffered any explosion, it tells me how efficacious and efficient the mechanisms that we put in place, how they are still enduring.
More innovative solutions and policies have been introduced along the way to give a further boost to Ghana's downstream petroleum drive.
When I came into the NPA, the public itself set the agenda for me. Basically, what I mean by that is that the public was already expecting certain things of the NPA and of the downstream petroleum industry. So, for example, the public was already yearning for a full implementation of CRM, the cylinder recirculation model. The public was complaining about rampant fuel smuggling and illegal fuel activity. The public was also complaining about, oversight lapses and so on. Within the NPA itself, there was a fear of dwindling revenues, for the running of the NPA. And so I actually made these 4 points, my principal, if you want, achievement points. In other words, I set out for myself that by the time I exit the NPA in 2025, I was hoping to achieve all of these 4 things. And what are these 4 things? Ensure that CRM was implemented to the full, ensure that we had curbed illegal fuel smuggling as much as possible, ensure that we had increased the revenue stream of the NPA. I'm happy to report that we achieved all of these and more. So when I came, for a very long time, for example, there were no promotions that had been done in the NPA. People were stagnant in one position sometimes for up to 10 years. And I remember that there was a law that said that you couldn't do more than 10% of promotions in a year. I had to go to the board to convince the board that because of the stagnation and the low morale, the board should vary it. So the board allowed me to do mass promotions of up to about 90% of the workforce. People were excited, it brought about morale, and then we were able to increase productivity at the place. And allied to that, I did the rebranding where we changed the logo and the face of the NPA, brought in a symbol that really represents the character of the NPA and what it does. I topped it up with the headquarters annex, because NPA kept expanding as the years went by, and it got to a point where too many people were sharing office space within the NPA and so on.
The current leadership and the board chairman, the Honorable Alhaji Hudu Yaya, and Chief Executive, Mr. Godwin Kujo Tamaklo, is poised for greatness. They are leading a bold reset agenda with their 8 thematic areas. The first focuses on efficient infrastructure and operational standards. The second sees to a green transition and industry sustainability. The third thematic area focuses on enhanced Ghanaian content and Ghanaian participation, whilst the fourth focuses on a strengthened technological resource base. The fifth thematic area focuses on an empowered and inclusive human resource, while the sixth focuses on legislative enhancement. The seventh focuses on enhanced regulatory image and reputation, and the eighth focuses on financial sustainability.
What we have done so far is to keep our focus on the issues of compliance, safety, consumer service, and also ensuring that we provide or get quality petroleum products to consumers at relatively cheaper prices. Reaching out to the sector minister, whose direction and instruction we take on even getting a second mooring facility that will clear the issues of associated demurrage because of the long period that we have to go through by way of discharge of petroleum products. So we are very confident that going forward, once we get the buy-in of HE, the president, the entire petroleum downstream will be greatly transformed. I have no doubt at all that with the support of all the directors, with the support of the board led by the respected Honorable Hudu Yaya, together with the board members, the subcommittee,
the directors and all staff, we will together make sure we move the authority to the next level. I'm very confident about that. HE President John Dramani Mahama is keeping the vision, the reset agenda, the 24-hour economy policy, and how it will be implemented properly within the petroleum downstream. That's where we want to reach.
As regulators, let everybody at his job be very, very transparent, honest, timely, so that the country, the economy can move on very smoothly. Congratulations to the board once more. Congratulations to the chief executive. Congratulations to the management. Congratulations to the staff of the NPA.
Distinguished Ghanaians have held the baton of leadership at the National Petroleum Authority, passing it on seamlessly from one to the other. Their ever watchful eyes and innovative ideas ensured order in the industry, relatively stable fuel supply, and integrity of petroleum products. Mr. John Atefa began the relay race, passed on the baton of leadership to Mr. Alexander K. Mode through to Honorable Moses Asaga. The Honorable Asaga passed on the baton to Mr. El Hassan Tampuli Esquire, who passed on to the Dr. Mustafa Abdul Ahmed. The mantle now rests with Mr. Godwin Kujotameklo Esquire. Ably guiding the race were board chairmen, beginning from the Professor Ivan Adai Mensah to Mr. Kojo Finn, followed by Mr. Ralph Roland, who handed over the baton to Mr. Joe Adoyobo. Mr. Adoyobo handed over the baton of leadership to Mr. Stephen Ntim, who handed over to the current board chairman, the Honorable Alhaji Hudu Yahaya. These personalities have introduced technological innovations that have streamlined the authority's regulatory regime in terms of ensuring regular fuel importation and supply, maintaining fuel integrity, preventing diversion, ensuring transparency, and ensuring uniformity of fuel prices across the country. Prominent among the innovations are the Petroleum Product Marking Scheme (PMMS), the Unified Petroleum Product Fund (UPPF), the Bulk Road Vehicle Tracking System, and the Fuel Importation Allocation Regime for fuel importers. This gives more hope that the National Petroleum Authority's journey ahead will continue to blossom. It will continue to protect the investment of petroleum service providers and safeguard the interests of consumers of petroleum products. Above all, it will continue to generate revenue for the state. But wait, what could the fondest memory of the men who served and had had to bow down at a point in time be? Let's hear them.
Fondest memories. That's a lot to talk about. But I think that the starting was really tough.
Some of the fondest memories there was with the staff, with getting the staff together, getting them aligned, having town hall meetings, and giving people opportunities to excel in this, and also putting in place a high performance program where people had objectives and there were KPIs and they had to meet them.
Yeah. So the fond memories for me was the fact that the staff and management and board worked so hard every year And I thought that, look, we needed to always crown it with a special end of year party. And those parties, I gave myself out. I was with them. We danced, we wriggled our waist. And my best song was Yentiobia. So those were the fond memories that I picked up.
Some of the fondest memories, and not too fondest, but sad times, included those times that we have had those gas explosions that lead into loss of lives and all of that. If I look back, how we are able to put in place those measures, and up to now we haven't suffered any explosion, it tells me how efficacious and efficient the mechanisms that we put in place, how they are still enduring. And so I'm very excited about some of those things that we have done together with the management, and in particular the staff, the junior level staff, who went all the way down, did all the drilling and all of that. And I used to tell them that, no, you guys will do all the hard work, but I take the credit. Apart from that, we had, times that we spent, we work hard and then we party hard. Basically, that was a norm at NPA. And
my fondest memories at the National Petroleum Authority, I would say to you that my fondest memories will be the fun moments. And by fun moments, I mean the happy hours, the health exercises and the health marches, the games that we play, the energy games, sometimes even the management retreats that we go to, sometimes at Aqua Safari, sometimes at Maha, sometimes at Royal Senchi, where people get to work and play at the same time, and so on. So, because it brings out the informal aspects of people, it allowed me to mingle with everybody, and to bring myself to the level of even the officer, to socialize and make friends.
The National Petroleum Authority's 20 years, and the gallant men who toiled and keep toiling for it cannot hide their joy.
NPA, Ayuko, you've done a yeoman's job. You've come a long way. When we started, I think we were not even 30. We occupied just one floor at the Prima House. Now you have a whole building to yourselves, and you are all around the country.
On your anniversary, your 20th anniversary, like a proud father, you'll be asking that and wishing the best for your organization. But for us, it's a journey. 20 years is just the beginning, and NPA is going to become stronger and stronger with the years. We've seen
NPA all the way. We are very strategic in the economic development of this country and the security of this country. Ayuko for 20 years.
It's the best time for me to wish NPA, more growth, more sustained and robust, regulatory power to be able to take care of the industry, and more importantly, to give Ghanaians the hope that this agency was, we are better off having an NPA than not having an NPA. NPA has come to stay, and the best that we can do is to continue to improve and improve and improve from one stage to the other, and then higher and higher and higher.
So 20 years is a long time, and so I raise my staff to the success and future of the NPA, and I say to the NPA and its staff, cheers and a happy anniversary. Happy birthday to the National Petroleum Authority. Hip, 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 hooray.
20 years, NPA, have a nice anniversary. You continue to work hard as you have been doing. And depend less and less on government because they are self-sufficient with our resources.
I wish NPA all the best. I know it will grow to be bigger than what it is now.
Happy birthday, 20th for that matter, to the authority, the members, past leaders, and leaders who will be coming, that the National Petroleum Authority is a game changer. I'm just imagining what would have happened to the entire downstream without the authority. What would have been happening to this industry but for the enforcement mechanisms of the authority? I strongly believe that the future looks bright, and let us all rally around leadership, around the vision, my board chair and the board, and His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama. I cannot finish without a special one to President Ajekum Kufuor, whose vision birthed the authority that we have today.
The NPA remains resolute in its vision to be a catalyst for economic transformation and growth. Its mission to regulate, oversee, and monitor the downstream petroleum industry in Ghana for efficiency, growth, and stakeholder satisfaction is also on course. Indeed, the NPA soldiers on.